Okay, good morning everyone again. I'm Irene from Esplora Interactive Science Center. We're going to start now as it's 10 o'clock and I know everyone has a busy schedule today on a Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining us for this info session on the National STEM Community Fund. I'm here at Esplora with my colleagues Sarah and Stephanie. So if you choose to apply for these funds, you'll be dealing mostly with them and with me. So let us try to explain what the fund is all about. Some of you may know it already. Perhaps you have already taken part. Could I have a quick show of hands if anyone has taken part in previous editions of the fund? Okay, very good. And just for some housekeeping, yes, we're also recording this session for those who could not attend today. So just for your information that this is recorded. We also have another session on Wednesday. Today's session will be in English and Wednesday's session will be in Maltese. And it's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So let us move on. The STEM Community Fund is managed by Esplora Interactive Science Center. We are the fund administrators and managers on behalf of the Ministry for Education, Youth, Research and Innovation. So as you can see, yes, these are some important dates. Today we're in the info sessions. Applications haven't opened yet for this fund. They will open on the 3rd of April and close on the 23rd of May. And then following evaluation, of course, the project will start at the end of July and you'll have a year to complete your project. Let's explain a bit what it's all about. So the National STEM Community Fund is a fund we launch every year for small to medium-sized projects that address a need in the community through science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, so STEM. By community, we mean any established community in Malta or Gozo. And STEM is defined very broadly within the fund. So it's life sciences, physical sciences, earth sciences, health sciences, environmental sciences, IT and computer science, engineering and mathematics. But of course, if you have any doubt as to whether your project does fall within the scope of STEM, please do let us know. I also forgot to tell you that if you have any questions, of course, at the end of the session, there will be some time to ask your questions, but feel free to interrupt as well if you need to. So what do we mean by projects that address a need in the community? Well, of course, if you're working with a community, the fund is really meant for organizations that represent a community. So if you feel that within your community there is something missing or there's a challenge you'd like to tackle, and that this could be best done through a science or technology project, then this is what the fund is for. So to improve things, of course, within your community or to conduct research, find out something that we don't know yet within the community, and engage people with science in this way. So as I said, yes, the aim of the fund is to bring together community-based organizations and STEM professionals. We insist on this community-based, of course, focus because this is what the fund is all about. So when you apply, you really need to, as an applicant, as a main applicant, you really need to feel that you're representing a community and explain which community you are representing and why. We can help you connect with a STEM professional. So the whole idea here is for an applicant that is a community-based organization to team up with a researcher, scientist, or other STEM professional to design and implement a project together. So the STEM professional is not a consultant here. The STEM professional, so the researcher or scientist or academic or any other professional working in a field of STEM is really part of the project here. And the aim, of course, is to encourage people who typically do not have much contact with STEM to engage with it in very practical ways. So, for example, you may think that because you work in a school but are not a teacher of science specifically, you may not feel you are particularly engaged with STEM. However, as we all know, science is in all we do. This is what we say all the time at the Science Center here. So everything we do is science in reality. So we may not know it, but we're doing science all the time. So that's the aim here as well, to show that to the community. Just to give you a few examples before getting into details of the fund, of what other people did in the past, of the kind of projects that were awarded funding. We have selected a few projects here just to give an example. They're by no means the best projects we've had, or it's just because we chose different kinds of projects. So a project by an association of scientists, a project by a local council, regional council in this case, a project by a school, and a project by an NGO, just to have a bit of a representation of different eligible applicants. This was, for example, a project called Beat the Wheat by the Malta Association of Biomedical Scientists. And the project consisted of testing hundreds of people for celiac disease and doing outreach events to explain what it is and the science behind it. While performing these tests, they also informed the public about the professions related to biomedical professions. So there was a bit of STEM engagement in that sense with youths and young children as well. We have a project here by a school, De La Salle College, for example, with a project called Grow Your Own. The school children set up their own hydroponic system, so growing plants without soil, basically. At their midday breakfast club, they did this. It was a very successful project. The children really enjoyed it, and some of them, we were told, were even setting up their own systems at home. So it was exactly what we wanted to achieve with this project. The Port Regional Council also has a project bringing together people from different social backgrounds, including from vulnerable groups, and they're using technology such as VR to teach people about the environment and also the culture of the Port region. So it's an educational and outreach project here. And finally, an example of an NGO that also was awarded funding, Shark Lab Malta, with a project called Bombs to Batoids, in which they did a survey with divers, citizen scientists, to find out whether the shark and ray population around Filfla was thriving or maybe perhaps not, and they actually found out that there was a decrease in the diversity of these species. So this was a research project. So that's just a bit in a nutshell what kind of projects we've had within this fund in the past years. You can find out more about them on Esplora's website. So to go into details of who can apply and how and what you need to do. Anyone is eligible who is Malta-based. You have to be a Malta-based organization and active within a community. We define community broadly. It doesn't have to be a geographical community. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a community of pigeon fencers. It can be a community of people who come together because they have a common interest or a common goal. So you will be asked to define this in the application form. But not all organizations are eligible, of course, because of this community dimension. So eligible organizations are schools up to post-secondary level and resource centers, local councils and regional councils, NGOs and foundations, and museums. There can be other organizations along these lines. Any officially recognized voluntary organization can also apply. Of course, we're just asking these organizations to have a voluntary organization number. Who is not eligible, not because we want to exclude anyone, but as I said, because of this community dimension, Other government bodies, so ministries, etc., would not be eligible applicants. Private companies and consultancies would not be, and tertiary education providers are neither accepted as applicants. However, they can all be partners. So as an applicant, you can choose to work with partners, and you will have to define this partnership in the application form. You'll also have to take into account any budget distribution within your partnership in that case as well, and explain it. So you have an applicant, you have possibly partners. You don't have to have partners, but you can have partners. And what you do have to have is the STEM professional on board. Now, the money. What is available in 2025? This year, the ministry has increased the budget for this fund to 100,000 euros, which is a lot compared to previous editions, which were of 24,000 so far. This sum, however, includes fund management costs. So Esplora will need to pay evaluators and organize dissemination events, etc., also with the fund money, but it is not a very large chunk of it, of course. We are expecting to fund at least 9 projects in 2025. The maximum budget for any given project is 10,000 euros. So you can apply for 10,000 euros and not more. You can apply for less if your project is a smaller project and you do not need 10,000 euros, of course. What can be funded? The kind of costs that will be funded are costs that you will need to also explain in your budget sheet with the application form. We'll explain that in a minute. All the costs, obviously, this is quite obvious, but just to make it clear, all costs need to be related to this specific project and within the project timeframe. Eligible costs are any equipment, merchandise, or services that you require for the implementation of the project. Personnel costs are accepted. We will provide a timesheet for these. The fee of the STEM professional, unless the STEM professional, of course, is a member of your organization already, in which case you can choose to remunerate the professional via timesheets. But if not, if it's a separate person, then the fee will need to be included as well. Administrative expenses, consumables, etc. Dissemination events and advertising within reason, of course. And travel expenses are only accepted if they're really, really essential, bearing in mind that this is a local project that needs to benefit a local community. So it is obviously not clear, not obvious that you might need to travel for it. This will need to be explained in the application form. What cannot be funded? Of course, infrastructure costs, consultancy fees, and expenses that are already covered by another funding source. We are obliged by law not to allow any double funding to take place. So if you are already awarded funding via the EU or another national project, of course, we cannot fund the same thing twice. Yes, I have already actually mentioned this, that you can pay, yes, the STEM professional. The STEM professional could be VAT exempt. That's not a problem. Ideally, the person would have a VAT number. However, this is very easily obtainable via the VAT office. So if the person is VAT exempt, then a fiscal receipt will be enough instead of an invoice. Subcontracting is allowed if you really need to do so, and you need to justify this in the application form, and it cannot exceed 30% of the total money the total fund, the total grant you are awarded. Our website, esplora.org.mt, will contain all this information and the guidelines and everything. Unfortunately, it's not up and running yet. Here is just an example of the last year's, but you will find it on our website under the tab STEM Alert and National STEM Community Fund. But we will send you also these links. Should you have any trouble, please do let us know, of course. And the application form will be there. It's an online application form, a SurveyMonkey application form that you will access via our website. And as I said, in the application form, you'll be asked certain questions to describe your community, your project. And you will be asked for deliverables of your project, which could be workshops or outreach events or any publication, for example, for schools, or a toolkit. It could be different things. And of course, we expect the projects to have also intangible outcomes, such as empowering your community or fostering certain skills within your community. You'll be asked to prepare a little timeline and also a little plan for dissemination and the legacy of the project. So what you believe will be the lasting impact of your project. So it's not very complicated and not very long, we hope. We've tried to make it as simple as possible, but we do have to include certain things because of reporting, of course. Things you'll be asked to attach to your application form will be letters of commitment, a simple letter from the STEM professional working with you and any partners you have. A CV, a short CV, just 1 page, or a bio note from the STEM professional is also required, just to make sure that the person is qualified to carry out the tasks you would like this person to carry out. A budget sheet, of course, this is a tentative budget sheet, but we really encourage you to get quotations for the things you wish to purchase or the services you wish to contract, because it will make your project far more credible, even to the evaluators. So we're really doing, you're not obliged to attach quotations, but we really do encourage at least one quotation, even for you to be able to set up a budget with real figures. And any other documents you wish to attach, there will be room for attachment. Yes, a word of warning that this form is a SurveyMonkey form that unfortunately needs to be filled in one session. We recommend working in Word and simply copying and pasting the replies. We apologize for this. We've tried to fix it, but we have mixed results with interrupting the session, so we'd rather warn you about this upfront. The answers do not need to be long. However, you are limited within the boxes you need to fill into 300 words. So we're not looking for a lot of text, but just clear sentence, clear, a clear explanation of what you intend to do with your project. And this is what the form will look like. There's some contact details, a description of the project, a description of why you chose the partners you chose and the STEM professional you chose, and a few attachments. So it shouldn't be too complicated, we hope. Yes, the budget plan is a sheet like this, you will see, which is the same one you will be submitting then at the end of your project with the project report. So you will be able to clearly list all the items that you purchased or that you or services you contracted, or explain why you did not, if this is the case. Of course, we expect you during the lifetime of your project to be in contact with us should there be any changes. This is important. If for some reason something happens and you need to change something within the project, we try to be as flexible as possible. But of course, these are projects that have been evaluated, and so you won on the basis of a project you submitted. So we would like you obviously to keep with the project you applied for as much as possible. However, we understand that some things may change, so please do remain in contact with us. Stephanie and Sarah will be contacting you during the project every now and again to check how things are going. So we try to keep it as informal as possible, but of course we need to make sure things are moving forward as planned. So yes, this is the budget sheet. It's not very complicated, we hope. State aid, yes, just a word about state aid. Because these funds are government funds, we need to make sure that everything is taken care of with regard to state aid implications. Schools and local councils or regional councils, so any public entity does not fall under state aid. You don't need to worry about that. There's a question in the application form. You simply tick no, no state aid implications. However, if you are entities that are carrying out an economic activity, and this could even be an NGO, you might fall under state aid, and therefore you will be asked to fill in a state aid declaration, de minimis declaration, listing the funding you have received in the past 3 years. This is because the government is not allowed to award more than 30,000 euros to the same entity within a 3-year period. So if you have any queries on this, please do speak to us, and we will see on a case-by-case basis. Yes, so this is the state aid declaration form is a very simple form that will be attached to the application form. The evaluation criteria. Yes, the project will be evaluated on mostly excellence, of course, the innovation behind how innovative your project is, and obviously the scientific excellence of it, and the relevance to the community is extremely important, and the impact and legacy you hope to achieve. The evaluators may approve your project for funding on condition that certain items are removed from the budget. For example, if they, again, that's why we insist on getting quotations, etc., to beef your application up a bit, so that the evaluators may see that this is, credible. This is making sense in terms of budget as well. Yes, the evaluation procedure is not something we do. It is independent professionals in STEM fields who are members of the evaluation board and who will evaluate all the projects. They will sign a conflict of interest form as well, and if there is a conflict of interest, they will be replaced. And they will go through each application individually. It's very important that you send your applications by the closing date, of course, because late applications cannot be accepted. Applications that score 75% or more will be considered for funding. And then there will be a consensus agreement between the evaluators to decide on the actual grants. If funding allows, we would also like, because we would like to fund as many projects as possible, of course, we will allow for projects that scored between 65% and 75% to be given a second chance, and evaluators will provide feedback to these projects and perhaps suggest some tweaking. And if that is done in a manner that raises the score to 75%, then these projects could also benefit from funding, of course, if there is still funding to be allocated. The fund is meant to cover 100% of the budget of your project within the threshold, of course, of 10,000 euros, not more. The way it works is that 70% is paid up front when you sign the grant agreement, so very shortly after being awarded the funding. And the remaining 30% is paid at the end of the project, once you have submitted your final report and all the documentation. So you have 1 month after the closure of your project to submit this final report. There is a template for it as well, with the final budget sheet, and then the 30% will be dispersed. So as I said, we really hope to fund as many projects as possible. So ask us anything. Please feel free to contact us on our STEM engagement email here, and we will be happy to answer any queries you may have. All the documents will be online very, very shortly, and we can also send them to you by email if you wish. So yes, that's it for me, but maybe my colleagues would like to add something.
Yes, I just like, because there was a small correction that the de minimis amount is 300,000, not 30,000. So the funding over 3 years from government.
Yes, 300. Sorry if I said 30. It's 300. Apologies for that.